All right, good morning. Salute to everybody that's tuning in. I don't expect anybody to be up at this time. It is currently 3:14 a.m. in the morning where I'm at right now. And hopefully you guys are watching the rebroadcast or the playback. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys can do me a favor, please hit the like button, share this video. Check out the links in the description box below for the Patreon page and the Facebook page. I'll make a Patreon video right after this broadcast right here. So if you guys don't know, my name is Splash Wave Beats. I've either been living or traveling abroad for the last 15 years. All right. I spent many years in Thailand. Spent about off and on, I spent about 8 years in Thailand. And I'm here to give you guys advice on what to do, what not when traveling abroad. And I usually teach these lessons in articles that I find on the internet. All right. Some of them are no brainers, they're self explanatory. But I like to tell you, some of the things that I've seen and, stories that I've experienced along the way while stating the obvious in some of these articles right here. And this one is obvious. So, violent brawl between drunk Australian tourists shocks Pattaya. All right. So, there's a couple people's faces that are blurred here. But there's two Australian Caucasian males here. They got their shirt off, and it looked like they are fighting in the middle of the street, and two police officers are trying to break them up. On the evening of September 15th, Soy Bokau in central Pattaya was the scene of a shocking and violent altercation between two inebriated Australian tourists. This confrontation, which unfolded in front of a stunned crowd, underscores the growing problem of public disorder in the area. All right, so I don't know if they were inebriated. I don't know if they were under the influence of alcohol, because if they were under the influence of alcohol, more than likely you would share that piece of information in the article by way of a breathalyzer test. Okay. If you pulled them to the side and gave them both a breathalyzer test and said, hey, they were in fact under the influence of alcohol because they blew a 1.3 or something like that, then it's like, okay, these guys were drunk. But in the last few articles where I'm seeing, people getting into it on the street at, 7 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon, whatever, during the day, right? They always said that they were drunk. They were drunk. They were drunk. But it hasn't been proven that they were drunk. They just say that they were drunk. All right. So do I have it in the, well, I got it in the title because that's what the article says, but I don't believe that they're drunk. I can only believe they're drunk unless you write whatever they blew in a breathalyzer test in the article. It erupted between two men, both heavily intoxicated, one of whom claimed to be a police officer while flashing a badge. Okay, so yeah. And who knows? He might have been a police officer. He might be a police officer in Australia, but that doesn't work in another country. It's not going to another country, right? You're way out of your jurisdiction. This dubious assertion did nothing to quell the situation. Instead, it highlighted a disturbing trend of disorderly behavior among some tourists, undermining local authority. By the time the local police arrived, the situation had escalated, with the two men resistant to any attempts to restore calm. Officers struggled for over 30 minutes to control the belligerent tourists, showcasing the challenges of maintaining public safety amidst such volatile incidents. So, if this was going on that long, it sounds like they really didn't even want to fight. All right. Sounds like one guy was wolfing, the other person wasn't backing down. And then the guy who was wolfing in the beginning was probably making a lot of threats, saying things to get the guy to back down, and the other guy probably wasn't back down, and it was pissing him off. But the guy who was wolfing in the beginning sounds like he really didn't want to fight. Probably sounds like he can't fight or hasn't won too many fights in his days when he tried to pick a fight with people, intimidated, nervous, scared. The other guy probably didn't want to fight either, and he just didn't want to come across as a punk and didn't want to back down or whatever. So to try to de-escalate something for that long and nobody got touched, sounds like they really didn't want to fight each other. Local residents and bystanders proved instrumental in eventually separating the fighting men. However, the scene took an even darker turn, which one of the tourists launched into a tirade of profanities directed at the police. So now when local citizens are watching this, it's kind of like, okay, it's bad enough that them two are getting into it. And now we have to jump in the middle to break it up. But now you're turning on us. The incident paints a broader picture of some visitors' reckless behavior and their blatant disrespect for local laws and law enforcement. Now, if you look at there's a video. I'm going to play the video. This is at a bad angle because it makes it seem like everybody was at the same, they have the same body mass somewhat. They're about the same height, and they weren't. All right, when you look at the video, they weren't. You could clearly tell who has the most body mass, who was taller. The Australian men were taller, right? Sometimes coming in between this, it's like, even though they have weapons, lethal or non-lethal weapons to stop this, you can see the fear in local law enforcement in Thailand. It's like, man, I'm going to need help. These guys are really big, right? And they're getting into a fight. It's more than likely it's over nothing. Eyewitnesses noticed that the two men had been drinking together early in the evening. Okay. Wow, early in the evening, so they stayed up all night. They didn't go back to their hotels, indicating a prior relationship that devolved into conflict. Strikingly, neither party chose to press charges, reflecting an unsettling acceptance of such brawls as typical rather than criminal. So this wasn't a brawl, it was just an argument. You know what? I'm not even going to read the rest of this. All right. I'm just going to play the video. I'm going to play the video. And I'm going to point out something in this video also that I want you guys to see. I'm going to point something out. I want you to see this. There's something that's very important besides the police officers and the Australian men. Okay. Should I enlarge in this? Okay. There's something I want to point out. Okay, so you see this person right here with the shorts? That's what I want to point out. Okay. According to the article, it took the police officers to get there. It took them a while to get there, and it was about 30 minutes of them trying to calm each other down. So you could tell, like, they was woofing and barking, and they really weren't trying to do anything to each other. Yeah, okay. Then he fell, stumbling and fumbling. All right. Here's what I want to point out. I don't have the audio on. So you have a Thai woman in the middle, right? Obviously, she's with one of them. Hell, she might know both of them. All right. But there's always a Thai woman by their side. All right. There's always a Thai woman by their side. And when the police officers get to a point where they sit both of them down, she's there, telling off the officers. Okay, so I guess she's with the guy with his shirt right here with the jeans. This man ain't got no belt, just pudgy, overweight. All right. I don't know what's going on. You know, I don't know if she knows both of them. She at least knows one of them. So in the video, if I were to turn the volume on, you know, she's trying to explain everything to the officer. She has her voice raised, and I don't know what's going on. But there's always a Thai woman in the middle of this. Not to say that she's the reason behind the fight or she stirred up the issues or whatever. It's just that no matter, you know, the fuckery that goes on between foreigners, right, especially of the dominant society in Thailand, there is sure to be a Thai woman nearby, right, co-signing a lot of the BS, riding with them. And that's another image that the public don't like to see out there in Thailand. All right. That's another image that they don't like. We don't really want these people here. We do want them here, but we don't want the bad ones here. We don't want this, even though, okay, alcohol, it brews this type of behavior. But here's the thing. What are you doing standing up for them? All right, you get your money, right? You want to be with a foreigner, cool. What are you doing in the middle of this, standing up for them, explaining to the cops on behalf of them? For what? Right? Anytime you see some BS with a foreigner, right, from the dominant society in Thailand, there's always you're gonna see a Thai woman by their side. I remember one time they had this guy in Phuket, right? For whatever reason, he built like what did he build? He built like some tank that floated in the water, right? And you can have a boat, you can have a pod or whatever sitting in the ocean as long as you get permission by the Thai government. Depending on, just park it, this is at a third. This is a designated area. You might have to pay some money, right? As long as you park it by the coast, they don't care. But when you go out, you can only go out but so many nautical miles off the coast of the country before you're considered before it's considered illegal to be that far out of the country, because now it's like you've left the country without properly leaving the country. That's what they're saying. So once you're outside of the boundary lines of the nautical miles of a country, the police officers, they really have no jurisdiction over there. And you could pretty much do whatever it is that you want. And so you had this guy, he built a pod way out in the middle of the ocean off the coast of Phuket. And he's there with a Thai woman, right? And they're like, hey, this guy, what he did, he's subject to the death penalty. So turn yourself in, because if we have to come and catch you, you might be sentenced to death for what you just did. So their reasoning for going out that far and searching for that pod was that they you left the country without properly leaving the country. So we have to come and get you. When they went over to the pod, there was nothing there. They had left already, right? They ran the background of this Thai woman because when they was out there on the pod, they had like a drone and they were recording themselves posting this up on the internet. They ran a background check of the lady. Come to find out, she was a single mother, right? She had a Thai kid with a Thai man in a previous relationship. Kid is out in the middle of a village in a small town, not even there for her child. And I've talked about this so many times. When there's a when there's a Thai woman, right? I've seen this a lot in Thailand. When there's a Thai woman and she's with a foreigner and she has a kid from a previous relationship, more than likely she hasn't seen her kid in a very, very long time. Like when they move on, they move on. They move on from the man and they move on from the child. They're barely there, if at all, ever, when they get into a new relationship and they have a child from a previous relationship. I've seen this so many times in Thailand. Right? What's her background? Does she have a kid from a previous relationship? Where's her kid at? In the middle of a village? Not with her. I don't know. She may or may not have kids, but you got these women. I'm taking it off of her. You got these women who are with foreigners, right? And they have children, but it's like they say that they're sending money back to the kids in a village, right? Even though bringing them to the city will provide them for a better life as well. But man, they'd rather be chasing this around. They'd rather be chasing this around. All right. Do I need to bring up that article? Man builds pod off coast of Thailand. I want to know if I can hear it. Here it is right here. This was it right here. Hold on. I want to show you this right here. Wait a minute. This was it right here. This dude built this. And I think this buoy right here was like, you cannot go past that buoy. If you go past that buoy, then you get in trouble because you just left. You left Thailand without permission. And you can only go out but so many nautical miles. So if you're this far from this buoy, then it's like you're not under anyone's jurisdiction or laws. You could do whatever, right? And I forget what a guy, I think he was British or something, with a Thai woman. Of course, he had a Thai woman who was down for this bullshit. You're in the middle of nowhere, right? Oh, hey, yeah, we could do whatever we want. We here. No, that means he could do whatever he wants to you. This guy right here, and look who he had by his side. Boy, like, and you see, they will do anything for these guys. They don't care, right? And it makes no sense. It makes no sense to be out this far. For what? For what? You got to go to the bathroom. What? You put it in the water. You want to cook something. You want to eat something. You need to check your phone for anything, your emails. You want to make a phone call? Nope, you can't. Like, I don't know what kind of reception they're getting out over here, if at all. But they have no problems getting a Thai woman to be down for their fuckery. And the cops were telling them, like, hey, no, you did this? Oh, no, this is the death penalty right here. I wonder what. Okay, so alternatively, a couple hope to enter the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok for asylum where we could be married and so she could leave with me to America. 45. I guess he was raised in Michigan. Oh my God. You see, you see. So there's always a Thai woman in the midst of a lot of foreigners fuckery, and so let me go back to the original article. I don't know if she was a lady boy or not. Let's go back to the article. Let's go back to this right here. All right. So I noticed um I've had I've knowingly, I don't know everybody that's subscribed, but I do know that I remember one time there's this Asian guy who used to call in out there in California. He was Taiwanese. I'm just not assuming everybody subscribe is black. All right. But the majority of the people that I know who chime in the comment section that they're black. So I want to say this. What does this mean for a black foreigner, a black tourist? All right. When it doesn't matter if the race of the person in these countries that you want to travel to isn't the same as yours, they lump everybody together as far as foreigners. Now, when somebody black does something or somebody African does, like if somebody African does something, you might be a black American, you get lumped in with them. Okay. Somebody Caribbean does something, you get lumped in with them. Somebody British does something, you get lumped in with them. Right? If somebody white or East Indian does something, you get lumped in with them. Now, if you do something, does the Australian or the East Indian, do they get lumped in with you? No. Right? But because this happened, you're seeing you see tourists, foreigners, farang, right? If most of the fights, the street brawls, if they were Africans or Caribbeans or Black Americans, they would not be saying tourists. They would not be saying foreigners. They say, hey, we have a black problem. We have an African problem. We have a Caribbean problem. We have an African problem over here. They won't stop fighting each other. Right? So the language would be totally different. But um I would see this every time I went to Pattaya, and I only went like maybe 3 or 4 times. Right? I never stayed. No, one time I stayed the full night. All right. I was visiting friends. I had 2 friends that came to visit. I was visiting. I booked an Airbnb. I stayed for a full night. The rest of the times I left at around about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning to go back to Bangkok. All right. Um, every time I went to Pattaya, I always saw people fighting in the middle of the street. All right. I mean, fights go on everywhere in the world, right? But in Pattaya, I would always see like fights in the middle of the street. And it would be foreigner on foreigners, there'll be foreigners on ties, it'll be foreigners on police officers. I've seen it all. I've seen Thai men beat up foreign women multiple times, right? You see a lot. And they try to make it sound like it's just a foreign thing. No, it's not a foreigner thing. There's a reason why they don't allow Thai men inside of the clubs, the nightclubs where foreigners hang out at. It's illegal. Every other country, they don't ban their own men from entering inside of the club, right? Korea, they'll ban foreigners before they ban their own men from entering inside of a club, any club for that matter. They'll tell foreigners you're not allowed here. But in Thailand, they say, hey, no Thai men allowed. Why? Because they start fights, right? You walk inside of a club, you're a Thai man, you walk inside of a club, and a woman that you like They want this right here. They want these guys right here. This is what they want right here, right? This is what they want. This is what they want. That looks like a love triangle. All right. And they don't like that. So a lot of the Thai men, they start fights with foreigners. So it's like a law in Thailand where, hey, these clubs that are mainly owned by foreigners or foreigners attend to these clubs, Thai men are not allowed. You know, so it's just not a foreigner thing. It's an everybody thing, right? It's an everybody thing. I told you guys when I was walking over the flex, I was leaving 808 walking over the flex. As I'm walking, I see like a long line of lady boys walking out of a club, but they all had like a smirk on their face. But they were getting escorted out of the club by security, and I don't know, it had to have been like 8 or 9 of them that came out. By the ninth one came out, there was a short white woman, face bloodied, screaming, trying to get at them, angry that is. So I guess like these lady boys beat up this white lady at the club. I mean, it's the article makes it sound like, man, these foreigners, this is all these foreigners do. Thais, they don't do this at all. You know, they're peaceful people, they're calm, they don't do this. And it's like we have to witness this type of stuff every day and we want it to stop. No, no, I'm here to tell you, if you're watching this right now, no. No, 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 no. This is an everybody thing. Right? I've seen more violence. I've seen more violence come from, well, actually, it's quite even. Let me not say that. It's been even. But every time I walk down Pattaya, like I'm like, okay, people just getting it in, but it's not just foreigners. It's everybody. Thais fighting each other. Thais fighting foreigners. Thai lady boys beating up women. Right? Thai men beating up foreign women. I've seen it. All right. So let me not make this video longer than I have to. This is very peaceful. It's nice and dark. The lights are low. It's 3:42 in the morning. Man, man, man. What are the comments saying? But this whole they were drunk in the middle of the street to prove that from now on. And they've been drinking that long. I mean, I didn't see nobody getting it in, man. I don't know who was at fault. Seemed like the guy in the jeans was the aggressor. Y'all gonna have to stop wasting your money on alcohol and just eating junk all day. Some of y'all gonna have to start taking self-defense classes. And another thing I want to tell you guys, stop wearing thong flip-flops. Stop wearing slides and thong. Let the ladies see. The ladies, she got on thong flip-flops. This guy right here in the shorts, he fell backwards because you got on thong flip-flops. See, you ain't got enough support. Yeah, you ain't got enough support around your feet and your ankles to keep you up. You got these thong flip-flops over. He was able to just barely brush you, and you fell because you probably slipped and fell on your own thong flip flop. They must be on drugs. I don't know. I don't know. They could be. But I find it weird how like, oh, they were drunk. I don't believe that they were I don't believe that they were drunk. And this doesn't look like the sun comes up pretty early in Thailand. What time? Like the sun comes up around about the sun starts to peak close to 6. Like 5:45 to 6, that's when the sun starts to peak up. All right. This looks like This looks like 9 in the morning. If this was in the morning, this looked like 9 in the morning. So I don't think they were drunk by then. And they can only serve alcohol at certain times in Thailand. So y'all got to start saying breathalyzers. That's it. All right. Breathalyzers. So what's the lesson to be learned here? First of all, man, if you go to Pattaya, you better make sure that just keep your head on the swivel. I don't want to promote violence or anything of that nature. You should always be in a position to defend yourself. But at the same time, just know what you're getting into when you go over there. It's a possibility that somebody might try you. I've had women try me, not to fight me, but I'm walking down Soy 6 and 2 girls just ran up to me and one jumped on my back to distract me while the other one started like unbuckling my pants and like putting their hands, you know. So that's SA right there. They SA'd me on Soy 6. All right. And I was very unwanted. I was violated. All right. You got to keep your head on a swivel when you go to Pattaya. Number one. Number two, don't wear thong flip-flops ever, wherever you go. All right. Here's another thing. I don't know if they know each other. I would assume they know each other. They didn't want to press charges or anything like that. You should have just pressed charges anyways for having to come down there and break this up after 30 minutes. Yes, you should have taken them in and just sent them on their way to the airport. All right. The last live stream, I said, hey, sometimes you're going to have to tell people to F off. Sometimes you just can't make friends with everybody and anybody. I don't know if they know each other or how long they've known each other. People said they witnessed them drinking with each other the night before. Then all of a sudden they fighting in the morning. They were friends last night. Now they fighting in the morning. And some people, they probably look at it as, hey, you know what? They appreciate a good old fight, you know, a good old brawl or whatever. A brawl to me is like multiple people fighting each other. This ain't a brawl. This is just I put brawl. Did I put brawl in the title? I put brawl because I didn't want to put fight. All right. Sometimes, man, you just gonna have to kick it with the ladies. All right. And you know, when you're at home before you travel, man, you know, get in shape. Get in shape and take a self-defense class, man. Anyways, I'm gonna stop this stream. You guys take care. I'm over and I'm out. Peace.